Hey everyone. I wanted to do a video kind of thanking everybody for the amazing blessing of you guys helping me and my family with our medical bills. I can't tell you how much that means to me. It's absolutely um, amazing seeing, for one, who's donating. Some of you guys I haven't talked to in a long time, and um, it touches me because the fact that I could, make some kind of impact on your life at some point, that you would feel the need to help donate. I'm absolutely overwhelmed. But I'm also overwhelmed by just everybody's thoughts and prayers that they've been sending my way, and it's been amazing. Um, but I wanted to do a video, for one, just to thank everybody, especially before I lose my hair. So I wanted to start this here pretty soon. Um, but also, I wanted to give testimony of what God's been doing in my life. Um, really, I've kind of been on a spiritual journey pretty much ever since my daughter was born. Um, I think that's really, I mean, that whole moment changed my life. It was one of the most incredible moments of my entire life, and it changed everything for me. Um, but something that occurred, with the birth of my daughters, I wanted to be a better man for her, a better father. I wanted to be the dad that she deserved to have, and I wanted to be the husband that to my wife that she could look up to. All those kinds of things. Um, but with that came this feeling of unworthiness with me. I had that affect almost every aspect of my life, is this feeling of unworthiness. And with that came a lot of anxiety. So I've kind of been going through that journey for a long time, and just trying to get closer to God, and you know look to Him for my answers, and give it to Him. But I haven't always done that. Um, the reason I'm kind of starting off talking about that um, is with trying to get closer to God. One of the things I did, trying to get more involved in my church at Stonewater, and that's kind of where my story begins with cancer. Um, so I went to a church retreat called Man Camp, and it's just a retreat for men that you go, and it's like a 24-hour thing. You stay overnight, and driving back from Man Camp, I noticed I had just like a small little lump here. You can see they cut on me there to do a sample and everything, but just a small little lump there, and I just thought, and this is driving back home from Man Camp, and I was just like, that's weird. Um, that's that's just weird having a little bump there. What's weird is, like any normal guy, I'd probably, 9 times out of 10, I would have just been like, it'll go away. Yeah, I'm sure it'll go away. Wasn't feeling sick, wasn't feeling bad or anything like that. But something was telling me I needed to get that checked out. And I can only say that that's God. That was God telling me, you need to go get that checked out. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. I really don't. So I scheduled an appointment to go get looked at like the following week. And uh, they she looked at me. She ordered a CT scan, and that's what's crazy is some of you that know me, I'm a relatively healthy guy. I've never. This is only the second time ever I've seen this doctor, my PCP, and it happened to be the second time I see her. She's going to tell me I have cancer, which is mind blowing. But I get the CT scan, and they call me to come back in, and uh, she tells me I have cancer. The thing that was probably the scariest thing was, I have multiple lymph nodes that are swollen, but there was one in my chest that was pretty big, like the size of an orange. And that's just not something that you expect to hear when you just have like a little bump on your neck. Um, and there's like a lot of emotions there, obviously. I was scared. I was angry at first, but God has done so many things in my life here. I mean, it's weird, but it's almost like I'm thankful for it because, and it's really sad that it takes something like cancer to kind of slap you in the face and wake you up. And I feel like that's part of the reason why I'm going through this. Why this is part of my journey. Uh, I think, like I said, I struggle with that unworthiness and this anxiety, and you know, I'm really good about numbing these things, right? So find different distractions to keep me distracted of what's really important, which is your connections with people, your kids. I think I consider myself a pretty good dad, but I'll still find things to distract me from paying attention to them or playing with them, things like that, or just sitting down and eating with them. One thing at Man Camp that stood out to me so much was it talks about spending time versus investing time. That was something that stood out to me big time because, if you're sitting there, even though you're with your kids and you're watching TV and you're just kind of sitting there, just kind of mindless, and if they're on like a phone or tablet or something like that, you're just kind of spending time, right? You're not really investing time where you're talking to them or playing with them. I felt that was like one of the reasons, you know, that I'm going through this is God wants me to live more intentionally, and that notice that every single day is a blessing. Like every single day is a blessing and a gift. So that's the reason I'm kind of doing this video, to let all of you know, like, to not waste a second. Every day is what's like it's changed my whole outlook on everything. Like everything has meaning now, and I've just seen God do so many things, like physical signs in my life, and I wanted to share it just to say like how real God is. Kind of sitting back, I was going through my phone, looking through. I have this Bible app on my phone that gives me a daily Bible verse every single day, and every now and then there's one that like speaks to me, and I'll save it in the notes section of my phone and just kind of title it. And there's one, James 1:12, and it says, "Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to all those who love him." And I saved that March 23rd, 2016, 2 years ago. And something that's crazy is, and I'm sure it's on a loop and everything, that Bible app, or maybe it's not, I don't know. Maybe it is a different one every single day, I don't know. But my first day chemo, that is my Bible verse that came up on my phone. I mean, how do you describe that? I mean, that's God. That is God. It's amazing. something else I wanted to share, of like a physical sign. A while back ago, somebody gave me a Bible. It's a daily walk Bible to read every day, because I'd kind of told this person that, that's something I need to do, is I have to get in the Word. That's something that I'm really lacking on. I go to church, I listen to the message, but I don't get in my Bible. So he gave me this Bible, and obviously I've been reading it every day. And again, it's sad that it has to take cancer for me to do that, but I've been reading it every day. And I had just finished the story of Noah, just going through that. And on our way to MD Anderson in Houston, driving there, I see a rainbow on the way there. Like a vibrant, like it looked like we could drive to the end of this thing. That's what's crazy. And I'm not trying to go viral, going crazy over a rainbow, but that is amazing. That's God sign. And I took that as everything's going to be okay. That's his covenant with us, that he'll never flood the world again. And I just kind of took that as him saying, I promise everything's going to be okay. So that was another like physical sign that I saw. And I was going to share another thing that happened that I just feel like it's just God working in my life. So like I said, I've kind of struggled with this feeling of unworthiness sometimes, like I'm not being the man I'm supposed to be, or I can always do more, which I know I can, but just not accepting God's grace. Like, Canyon, you're good enough. You're good enough. And so while we're at MD Anderson, it's like my wife described it as like a some kind of like twisted summer camp, where they schedule out all these activities for you. It's like a week full of activities, just full of like tests and stuff that they do. And then you have like your scheduled times that you go, and then occasionally you can go to the cafeteria, and like, I don't know, it's funny, but that's really kind of how it is when you're at the MD Anderson, the hospital. But while meeting with one of these doctors that was going to be doing this procedure to test some of my lymph nodes, he's kind of going over like my PET scan and things like that, and what he's going to do for the procedure. And he kind of he just stopped and he's like, "So how are you doing with all this?" And I was kind of like talking about like I'm not good in hospitals, because I'm not. Like, my wife tell you, I almost fainted during the birth of our daughter, even though it was amazing. But I don't do good in hospitals. I don't do good with needles, anything like that. It makes me sick to my stomach. It just makes me queasy. And that's kind of what I was referring to. And he said, "How are you doing with all this?" And I was just like, "Not too good, to be honest with you." But then he just stopped and was like, "Well," he's like, do you mind me asking what your religious preference is?" And I was like, "I'm a Christian." And he was like, "Well, I'm a Christian too." And he's like, "I said that, I used to say that before, but now I know I'm a Christian." And he's like, "Honestly, I dealt with some depression in the past, and just, we're constantly being fed all these things from the world, and we just don't know what is true." And he's like, "Really, you have to preach to yourself. You have to preach to yourself." And he just kind of preached to me and my family, like right there for like 15 minutes. And we were kind of like all kind of teary-eyed at the end of it. But I just thought that was amazing. Like, God obviously put him in my life for that moment, but also with the struggles that I've been going through for a while now. And he even told me a book, and if you want to read it, you can. I've only read the first chapter, but it's called Spiritual Depression. And it talks about that, how to filter out all these lies that are spread to us constantly by the world. And you just have to preach to yourself and know what's true, and that's God. But again, I'm only in the first chapter, so I don't know too much about it, but I plan on fully reading it. And then one last thing I was going to mention of just why I know like God is so real and he's with me every step of the way. A childhood friend of mine, his dad is going through the same thing as me. He's got lymphoma. I don't want to say any names because I don't know if he wants to share it or anything like that. But I've had him as kind of like a mentor to me throughout this whole thing too. And it just so happened my first chemo treatment, they schedule around the same time as his chemo treatment. So, excuse me, my first chemo treatment, I'm sitting next to somebody familiar who can talk to me and get my mind off things. And I mean, that's amazing. And I can only attribute that to God, like that I would happen to be sitting next to somebody who I've known since I was a little kid. It's amazing. But I've just seen God do so many things in my life, so I just kind of wanted to share some of these things. And really, it's been incredible. I'm still trying to live my life intentionally every day. And it's hard. It's hard. I still slip back into moments where I'm trying to numb or not trying to think about it, but I can't do that. But I just kind of wanted to share some of those things, and really he's done even more. But those are just some of the highlights I wanted to share. But excuse me, throughout this whole time, it's just been incredible. The people that have prayed for me, that have physically prayed over me, it's amazing. And it's really just, that's something that I've been shown through this too. Like, our connection with people is so important. It really is. But I just want to thank you guys again. I know God is going to cure me of this. I know he is, and he still has plans for me. And I just want to thank you all for everything, for the donations, the thoughts, the prayers. And like I said, I know God's not done with me, because I felt like this has lit a fire in me to give it all back. I got to give it all back, because all the love that I received, I gotta give that back. And I need more time on this earth so I can do that. So thank you all. Again, I really appreciate everything.